One of the methods I use to glaze is called double dipping, and it is a process of glazing the inside and the outside of the pot at the same time. You can see on this piece, if you stick it into the glaze, air keeps glaze from getting into your pot. So the normal method for glazing that potters use is to pour glaze in, pour it out. Hopefully you've moved it around completely so the glaze has glazed everywhere. Then you would take the piece, turn it upside down, dip it in. That's a fine method and it works. But one of the difficulties is you've glazed the inside and the lip, and now you glaze the outside and the lip. And in that process, you're getting double application of the glaze on the lip. It could be used to good effect, but maybe you don't want that. So double dipping tends to minimize that. Also, you save a little bit of time. Now, as you'll notice, pouring it in, pouring it out, dipping it in a minute, maybe 40 seconds or 30 seconds double dipping. But if I'm glazing 100 mugs, I can save a good amount of time. So it is faster. So the process is you take your piece, dip it into the glaze, pull it up quickly, don't let it leave the surface of the glaze, and what it's doing is pulling glaze up, and then you slam it back down and you've glazed the interior. You can see here when I do this what I'm talking about. Dip it in there, no glaze, glaze. Then I would just shake the piece off, though when I'm actually using a pot, it dries much faster than this plastic. So here is a cylindrical mug. One of the things I'll do is moisten the rim so that it's not going to build up so thick. Shake it off. And I keep shaking it until I don't see any glaze drip down into the bucket. And at that point, I'm sure that it's not going to run down anywhere. So once the surface is done, you can see where my fingerprints are. I'll just use the anatomical brush, also known as your finger, and get some glaze on these areas. It's less of an issue with this particular glaze because this glaze is clear. And so the obvious areas that you see where the glaze was, and then I added glaze, so right there where the arch, the catenary arch of my fingerprints, the glaze is thicker there, but it's clear. And thicker clear is the same as thinner clear. So I'm not too worried about that. I just want glaze to be there. After I have glazed the piece, then I use the sponge, wet it, and just carefully clean around it. You've noticed I've not waxed this pot. I wax only 2 things in all the work I do. You'll also notice that as I am cleaning this, I'm moving back and forth. That is not because you have to scrub real hard to get glaze off. It is because I am moving up slowly to the edge where I want the glaze to be gone. I've never been able to set my sponge at one spot and just move it and clean it exactly all the way around. So I'm just slowly moving it up, seeing what I'm cleaning. Then clean the bottom, and now this piece is completely glazed.